Being yourself and being authentic to who you truly are instead of trying to follow the crowd or do what you see other people doing. That is a better outtake. You can look everywhere, you can see doubles, you can see triples, but you can only see one of you.
I'm Detavio Samuels, CEO of REVOLT, and this is the Blackprint, the show that dives into the blueprint for Black success. Every episode, I sit down with talented CEOs, entrepreneurs, and industry experts to explore their journeys to the top. This is the Blackprint. Welcome to the Blackprint. Here we start out every conversation the same with my favorite quote. Everybody sees you on the mountaintop. Not everybody sees you on the climb. This is the show where we talk to the ceiling breakers, the disruptors, the rule breakers about their climb to the top. And today I am so happy to be joined by this incredible woman next to me, Miss Dearra Taylor. Welcome to the Blackprint.
Yes.
How you feeling?
Thank you. I'm feeling great.
It's good to have you here. Thank you for making time.
Yes, thank you for having me on here and inviting me.
Of course. So we have a rule here at REVOLT. We think it's important that we all control our own narrative, that we're all in control of our own story.
Period.
And so I'm going to do all the question asking, but before I do that, can you please, through your own words, introduce yourself to the audience?
My name is Dearra Taylor, obviously. I'm an entrepreneur, I'm an influencer, and I'm that girl.
All right. I love it because we were talking, you said they call you the blueprint.
Oh, yes.
And so I love that we have the blueprint on the Blackprint.
Oh, they're going to be excited. That just makes sense.
So entrepreneur, CEO, all of those things, influencer, that's where you are today.
Yes.
Let's go all the way back to the beginning. Tell me what life was like for you growing up in Memphis.
Life for me growing up in Memphis was very strict. Like I grew up in a strict household. I did at one point of life, in my life, I stayed with my grandparents, me, my brother, my older brother, my mom, and my grandparents. But I did grow up very loved, very nurtured, very, what's the word? Always having, things instilled into me that I can be whatever I want to be and do whatever I want to do. So like growing up, it was like I knew whatever I was going to be in the world, it was whatever I wanted to be because I knew I could do it.
Absolutely. So if the sky is the limit for young Dearra,
yes.
What is she dreaming of? What are her aspirations? Who did she want to be?
I knew when I was younger, I always wanted to be somebody.
Okay.
I love to cook, I love to eat, and I love to just show out. I love to, dress. I always was into fashion as little as I can remember. So yeah, I just knew I was going to be somebody.
Mm-hmm. So as you talk about fashion being a big thing as you were young, like who are some of those early influences for you? I
think growing up, I looked up to Lil' Kim to fashion and also Rihanna.
Music people, did you have any musical aspirations?
Like that I want to do music or just music that I like in general? Because I have no aspirations to be a musician at all.
You didn't have that gift, huh?
Did not. Well, I got many gifts, but that one ain't one.
Right. If I was having a conversation yesterday with someone and we were talking about how people use excuses all of the time, right? One of my favorite quotes, excuses are tools of the incompetent and those who use them will never succeed, right? Lots of people use excuses for not getting to where they should be. If there was a reason you did not get to where you are today, if you didn't make it to be CEO, if you didn't make it to be influencer, what would the excuse have been based on your background or on your childhood, why you weren't able to get there?
It wouldn't have been one. It wouldn't have been no excuses. There's no excuses in this life. You can be whatever you want to be as long as you do the work and you can get there. So no excuses at all.
Who trained you on that? Who gave that to you?
My granddaddy and my grandmother.
Talk to me about the importance of them in your life.
Yes, so my grandparents meant the world to me. They taught me, so they raised me on being kind, loving, and a go-getter. So them, raising me, well, not raising me, but like growing up with them in my life, it was a big piece because I feel like, with my mom, it wasn't a lot of, my mom was very strict. So it's like, that's how they grew up. But obviously when you grow up into a family and then you have grandparents, they treat their grandkids differently than they treat their children. So that have a big impact on me.
So when did you get that first taste of maybe content being something that you wanted to explore, like being a YouTube influencer? Where did you get that first kind of like excitement around that idea?
I would say, I don't necessarily think it is growing up and being an influencer. It was more so being like, okay, you can be something growing up. And I think that was when I first moved to Atlanta. I had an influencer. And I was doing it in high school as well. People loved the way I dressed. People loved the way I did my makeup. So I think that was like a point where I was like, okay, yeah. You know,
so just naturally being who you are, you're influencing the people around you, right? You're seeing how people react to you in high school. Is there anything you did intentionally to go from being an influencer in your neighborhood, an influencer in your high school, to being an influencer on a broader scale?
See, I don't think it was a difference. I think that being myself then and now is what got me to where I am today.
So you've always just kind of been locked into this idea of
100%.
Authenticity.
Yes.
And have you ever had to do anything to try to build or to try to scale? It is just being who you, so what is the lesson in that for other people to learn from you?
Being yourself, I think that being yourself and being authentic to who you truly are instead of trying to follow the crowd or do what you see other people doing, I feel like that is a better outtake because you can look everywhere, you can see doubles, you can see triples, but you can only see one of you. So I think that would be that.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think all of us are, are originals. There's no copy, right?
Yes, not at all.
Everyone's an individual snowflake, right? We all have our special magic. One of the things that I think we have to become good at, if you look at superheroes, right? You look at Superman, you ask him what his magic is, his sauce is. He'll say, he shoots laser out of his eyeballs. He's flying through the sky, right? Everyone can kind of all superheroes can speak to their magic. Do you know where your magic is? So being authentic is how you got here. What is it about what is authentic about you that people love, that is special? Do you know? Can you name it?
I think it's the unbotheredness. You get into a world of creativity, you get into a world of influence where it's so much that a lot of people in the norm in real life wouldn't necessarily be able to do, know how to move when it comes to negativity. And I think that is why people look to me, it's like, dang, she don't let nothing break her. So I think that it would be that.
You have something about you that's resilient against all odds, no matter what's going on.
No matter what. I'ma always do it. I'ma always pick up where I left off. I'ma always boss up. It don't matter. I'ma do it.
I think there's also something when I watched you, there's a unique confidence that you have, a boldness and a presence. Have you always been like that? Were you like that as a child?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
Okay.
My mom would tell you that. My grandparents would tell you that if they were here. My aunties, my cousins. Yes.
So I think oftentimes when we have gifts as children, those things get squashed as we move through school, as we move through life. Like when I hear you talk, it's kind of like I always knew I was going to be somebody. I've always been this bold, courageous person. Is there anything you had to do intentionally to not let the world cause you to shift or contort into something that is different? Again, you're saying, I've been through some stuff, but I still maintain being the same. Is there anything you had to do to protect who you were so that you could maintain who you are?
I think a level of privacy. I am a content creator. I create videos on YouTube. So I think that when people look at that, it's like they're looking into your life and they feel like they know everything about you. But it's pieces of my life that I do keep a secret, not a secret, but, keep private and dear to me and to my heart. So it's not that I'm sharing every single thing about myself to the world.
Yeah, I'm a big believer in that as well. I think safe spaces are needed, and you can't trust the wild. You can't trust everybody with all of you.
Yes.
How do you decide what goes out into the world and what you keep private for your own circle?
I look at it like what I feel as though some people wouldn't necessarily put on social media. And I also think about just the people around me, the people that's in my life, guidance that they give me. So I feel like that's kind of how I move and navigate with what I decide to share online and what I don't.
And so the first part you said, identifying things that people are not sharing. So is that a key piece of your strategy? You're studying the landscape, what people are talking about, and then trying to make sure that you're bringing different and unique things into.
Yes.
Okay. Do you have a process for that? How do you do that?
I don't necessarily have a process.
Naturally?
It just comes naturally. It just comes naturally.
So that's another part of the gift then, right? There's another part of the gift that allows you to see and identify what is not there and put it there, right?
Yes.
Okay, I love that. Talk to me about YouTube. So YouTube is where you kind of get your first pop. It's where you very first start trying to make it. What inspired you to start a YouTube channel?
I think what inspired me to start a YouTube channel was the people saying start the YouTube channel. And it was just like...
The people meaning the neighborhood, the friends?
No, it was the supporters, because when I was growing up, I was growing up like high school, I was taking pictures, I had a little following. And then a lot of people was like, make a YouTube channel, make a YouTube channel. And this is when I was kind of like in the position of a relationship. And that's kind of like how I came into this. So I think it was the motivation from the people saying do it. But I also knew I could do it because it was my graduation gift that I wanted was a MacBook and a camera, a Nikon camera. And my granddaddy got it for me. So I was like, I have everything. They saying do it. Why not?
Yeah, so beauty in that for me is a lot of times people will get gifts, and I don't want to talk about, I don't want to put a judgment on them, but for this moment, I'll say maybe gifts that are more superficial, right? You were intentional about getting a gift,
Yes.
I'm assuming.
I said, I didn't even say a MacBook. I said a laptop and a camera.
Okay.
And my granddaddy just so happened to get me an Apple MacBook and a Nikon camera.
So you had the tools, you had the resources.
Yes.
People were telling you to do it, but what actually made you leap? I asked that question. So even this show right here, I never wanted it, right? There was never a dream for me. I never sat back and said, I wanted to do the Blackprint. There was never a moment where I said I wanted to be in front of the cameras.
Right.
In fact, it was the opposite. I wanted to be very far behind the cameras. And so for time, I definitely had people saying like, you should go out and try to have these conversations, right? You should be in front of the camera. And I resisted. And so I know that there's a world where people can tell you should do it, where you can have the resources to do it, but you still don't do it, because that was me for a very long time.
Right.
What made you say, you know what, I'm going after this and I'm going after it now?
I think because I look at it like when I'm sitting in my room, right? And originally I always wanted to be a chef. That was like something that I wanted to do. I love cooking. That was my passion. And that was like the direction I was going to go. But that wasn't necessarily the direction that I went full force. I think that this came immediately. It came fast. So I was like, this is my calling. This is what I'm supposed to do. And so I think that voice in my head is what told me to like do it.
Yeah, I'm a big believer that life gives you breadcrumbs and you have to follow them.
Yes.
And it sounds like these breadcrumbs were kind of trickling, and you've constantly, I was already standing out. People are already saying, go do this, right? You're following these breadcrumbs. And so now you feel like there's mission or an assignment in the work that you're doing. Was the assignment back then all about being a YouTube influencer creator, or did you look at it bigger than that back then when you first started?
I think it was being a creator, just being a creator. I think now I know that my calling and my passion and my purpose here is to influence people to do the right thing. Let them see how I've came up, the process that I went through, the struggles that I've went through, and be like, okay, I can go through this, this, and this, and this, and I can still come out on top.
Talk to me about your process for creating content when you first started. What was your process for creating content back then, and has it shifted or changed or morphed in any ways over the years?
Yeah, so it was more so, well, actually, no. I think the process is kind of the same. So it was kind of like because I'm very organized. I'm an organized person. So I love jotting down and writing down. And a lot of people think that, okay, daily vlogs, you're recording what you're doing on the day-to-day. But I like to plan my day out step by step, and that kind of aligns with my vlogs. So it's organized. And I feel like that's why people watch me as well, because it's not like a content or it's not videos. It's all over the place.
So then are you just capturing your normal day as it would be? Because kind of what I just heard you say is you plan your day out and then you figure out, right? So are you just living your normal life and then turning the camera on?
Yes.
Or are there's not moments where or weeks where you're like, let me go intentionally go capture this moment. Let me go intentionally.
Nope. I
living life.
Never. Besides when I'm traveling.
Sure.
That's different.
Sure.
I have an itinerary that's going to tell me what I'm doing this day, and this day. So that's kind of like more curated.
Sure. Yeah, there's something in here that I just love about your story that's just so natural. Like everything sounds like it is so natural. While you're organized, it doesn't sound like it's been like you've been overthinking any moments. Are you an overthinker at all?
I feel like I am though.
Okay,
But when
so where does the overthinking happen?
When it comes to my content and when it comes to like just my craft, I'm not. So like everyday life, I would overthink, okay, should I wear these shoes or should I wear this bag or should I book this trip? I would overthink that. But I feel like when it comes to content, if something pops up in my mind and I want to do it, I'm going to do it. I don't really overthink that.
What do you think is the difference? Why do you think that when it comes to content creation and what you put out in the world, you're almost so much freer than when you just step out in the streets and figuring out what shoes you want? Is there a difference in those things for you?
I think because it comes naturally and I know exactly, because I've kind of, I guess, connected with my audience, so I know exactly what they want. So I can kind of do it in my sleep.
So that's a lesson. A big lesson for, I think, a lot of people who want to be in your shoes is that you have to study your audience, know what they are. How did you learn your audience? How did you begin to understand who your audience was and what it was that they were expecting from you?
From comments, from DMs, from talking in person, taking constructive criticism. I think that's what allowed me to embrace my audience and see what exactly they want to see, what they would like from me, and then give them exactly what they like and want.
Okay, so you said constructive criticism. What's one of the harshest critiques you've ever received? Can you remember? And if you do, how did you then use it to adjust, if at all?
I don't know if it was anything that was just super, super hard that it was like, nah, I don't know if I could take that. Like, I don't think it's nothing that was super hard.
Doing your YouTube thing, right? When is the first time when you post a clip or a video or something, you're like, yep, I got it. Yep, I can do this. Like, you already walked into it feeling like it was an assignment. But a lot of times you can be on assignment and you don't get positive feedback. For me right now, I use like Jesus as an example, right? Jesus was born at 0, always destined to be who he was, but didn't become that until 30, right? Then was that for 3 years. So my question for you is, you knew the assignment was there. What happened to make you be like, yep, I'm in the right place. Yep, this thing is gonna work.
I think gaining a big following in like a short period of time. I think that was like, okay, like people are actually following, people are actually watching. So this is it.
So you always had motion, you always had momentum.
Oh yeah, for sure, always. So
in this day and age, I think one of the hardest things to do is to be discovered. I think there's a lot of great content out there. I think there's a lot of incredible people out in the world, and I think they don't pop and they don't make it because they're never discovered.
And it's kind of like a world where it's saturated.
I
think when I came into YouTube and this content creation, field, it wasn't saturated. It wasn't as many people as it is now. So I guess that was probably an advantage, having a head start.
Yep, you got in before it was too competitive. What do you have any advice for people who are trying to get into the game now? So you got in when it was maybe a little less competitive, but to be fair to you, it was still super competitive.
Right. Oh yeah, for sure. And I also think that what it was doing it because I wanted to do it. And I tell people that all the time. A lot of people look at content creators or anybody in life and be like, I want to do that because of this lifestyle or because of what I see them doing. But I think that when you go into a situation doing it because you want to do it and doing it for the right reasons, the outcome is always going to be great. So I would say that.
And so you're on your YouTube journey, you got momentum, you're building a following. Can you remember when you got that first check that made you say, oh, I can make a living out of this? Can you remember what that?
It was the first check for sure.
The very first check?
It was the first YouTube check that I ever received, and I was like,
so this is within your first month. This is like your first month of doing it.
Yes. And I was like, damn, this is crazy. So I think, my first
How did that feel?
It felt good. It was $12,000. I was about 18, 19.
Yeah.
So imagine that.
Yeah, if you annualize that, that's $144,000 a year, $150,000 a year doing YouTube, doing something that you feel like is authentic to you, natural to you, on assignment, a passion for you, right?
It doesn't feel like work.
And so once you get that first check, and it feels good and you say, I can make a business out of that. Did you do anything different? Did you alter? Did you shift? Or you were like, what I'm doing is working perfectly. I'm just going to stay in this lane.
Yes. And the thing I did differently at that moment when I was like, okay, this is for real, was forming a team. So obviously my attorney right now, my lawyer, is my cousin.
Okay.
So she was already a lawyer before I even came into this world. She was an entertainment attorney. So when I came up, it was like, okay, she's never really worked with an influencer because it was new, but it wasn't new to her to work in the entertainment industry. But when you call a content creator, that's technically entertainment. So I think building a team, the right team surrounding me, is kind of like, what was the next move?
And so you got a lawyer. What other pieces of the team?
Accountant.
You got a lawyer, you got an accountant.
And me.
And you.
Yes.
So first core team is the creator, the accountant to watch the money.
Oh, yeah.
The lawyer to focus on the deals.
Contracts and make sure everything legally is right. Yeah.
In hindsight, looking back, is there anybody else you would have put on that team? Or you think for any content creator kind of coming up in the game right now, these are the two key, first pieces that you need around you?
I would say those are the two first key pieces
you need. Okay. Okay, so your star's rising. You're going up. You're no longer just known in Memphis, right? But now you're building national, global, right? Digital YouTube is global following. What was it like to realize that you were really in the public eye, that you were becoming a public figure?
I would say when I was in public one time with my mom, family, and then people just came up screaming like, oh, can I get a picture? That was when it really hit me like, damn. And mom was like, oh, this for real, for real. Like people, actually watch you and actually support you. So I think that was the first, because I'm like, that's never in my life ever happened. So it's like when I first experienced that, I was like, this is for real.
Mm-hmm. And did mama believe before that first check? Actually what I want to say is, did mama believe before she saw those people screaming? When did mama start believing in this dream? Did she believe from them? Okay.
It wasn't that she didn't believe in the dream,
Yeah.
because she always supported me whatever, the direction I wanted to go in life. But I think that's when it really hit her like, oh, my daughter, like, famous, or you know what I'm saying? Like,
absolutely.
that's the word for it. That's what they call it. So I think that's when she was like, oh, okay.
Okay, this is the thing. So now you're making money.
This is the thing. Like, people really like coming up to you asking to take a picture. Like, what? This is crazy.
So I never wanted to be in the public eye. That's a big reason when I was saying, though people might have said, hey, you should think about being in front of the camera. I never wanted to be famous. And I still don't want to be famous. I think fame comes with such a high cost.
It does.
So my question for you is, what are some of the biggest lessons or ideas, thoughts you have around being someone who is famous in the public eye, right? What that means for you, your life, and your world.
I knew that my life was going to change forever. I knew that whatever I do and whatever I put out on social media, I have a huge impact. I have a huge influence. So like, I have to be mindful of the things that I post. So I feel like that was one of the things that I knew that I had to do, but it wasn't hard. So I think, I'll say that.
What, I want to get into, before I do that. Okay, so you're on, this is, by now when you're sitting in this seat, you've built YouTube businesses multiple times. So right now we're on kind of phase one, right? What was the moment during phase one, this kind of initial YouTube channel that you were building? Like, what's the craziest thing that happened to you in a positive way from this channel? It could be a big brand deal. It could be, again, being out in public and feel like, what's the biggest thing that happened to you, the craziest moment that happened to you during phase one of your YouTube channel?
I would say going on tour, like going on 12 city tour, and also being a part of the New York Mag, like being in the magazine. That was probably like one of the huge moments. And also being a part of a Tyler Perry movie.
What prompted you to go on tour?
What prompted? It was actually an offer that kind of just fell into, my lap, and I was like, okay. I have the support. I have the people. I know they'll buy the tickets because they, will want to meet you in person. They always say this. So I think that's what catapulted.
But I know, because I've studied a little bit about you, and you don't say yes to everything.
I don't.
So what made you say yes to that one?
Because it was going to meet my supporters.
And why was that important to you?
Because it's different through the screen. And I think people getting to feel your energy in person is really where it's at.
So a big piece of it was about providing another mechanism for you to connect with your audience and for them to experience you in public. What about on the money side? Was there anything there? Was it about trying to generate new revenue streams for your business? Was money an important piece, or was really just all about the fans?
I think money was an important piece, because I think that most of my money came from YouTube at the time. So it wasn't like, oh, okay, this is about to be such of a big, huge check, so I have to do it for the money. I think it was more so dedicated to my supporters and going on tour and being able to see them and seeing, they face light up, when they see me. So
what was it like touching your fans all across the nation for the first time?
It was crazy. It was insane. Like, shows was really selling out.
It's incredible. Most people can't actually move tickets, right? Like, even when you think about a lot of musicians, there's lots of people who will go see in concert, but the people who can actually get people to buy tickets are the most valuable, right? So we may go to a concert with 15 people, but really there's 2 or 3 of them that got us to buy the tickets, right? Becoming a brand or becoming someone who can actually move tickets is such an incredible feat. Yeah, it's super impressive. It's super impressive. Okay, so you're living the dream, you're on assignment, YouTube channel popping, you on tour, how'd you get into the Tyler Perry movie?
That was another offer that just fell into the lap. People looking online, they looking at the presence, they looking at the organic, being organic. And I think that's what it was.
Did it inspire anything, like you acting for the first time on screen? Did it ignite anything? Do you want to be an actress? Do you want to do more and more?
No, I don't think I want to be an actress, but I would definitely do it again.
You do it again?
It was definitely an opportunity that I enjoyed, so I would.
You like cameos?
Yes, I like that. I like that.
So let's start to move into phase 2 of your YouTube channel, right? So the first version of the business was built with a business partner. Like all great business relationships, sometimes those things have to break and dissolve. And so as that relationship, like that business relationship was dissolving and you were thinking about going out on your own, what made you say the best way to continue my own individual brand is still through a YouTube channel? You could have launched products, you could have gone into acting, you could have done a whole bunch of different things. Is there a reason? Were you intentional about creating that YouTube channel again?
Yes, actually. I think because that's where I started, and I think that is what I really enjoy doing. So that's kind of like where I wanted to start at first. I knew it was 1,000,001 things that I wanted to do when I went on that solo journey, but that was like the number one thing that I wanted to start with.
Were you confident that you could do it again? Was there ever a moment where you were thinking, I had lightning in the bottle the first time, I want to do it again, I know I can do it again? Or were you nervous? Were you worried? Were you concerned?
I was nervous. I wasn't worried. I knew that I knew who I was at the end of the day.
That confidence still kicking in.
Yes, but I think it was one of those things where it was what I was familiar to. The different part of it is like doing it on my own versus doing it with somebody. I think that is what like was nervous to me and what created nerves. But yeah, I never doubted myself.
Yeah, I love that you did it because the genius in it is that what we all need if we want to have businesses and sell products or do some of the other things that we aspire to is we need our own audiences, right? So for you to go out, build your own audience all over again so that you can then launch whatever products you want
after the fact.
100%.
And that's exactly what I did. My lunch when I did it, and I did my, announcing my sunglass company when I did it.
Okay, so let's talk about that. What was the inspiration for the sunglass company?
Me. I love wearing shades. I think that you can't really have an outfit if you don't have a pair of shades on. And I'm a big accessory girl. Jewelry, nails, bag, sunglasses. So that is what I wanted to do. Number one, when you could scroll up on my Instagram, every single picture had a pair of shades or glasses with it. It just made sense. And it was really who I was. So,
Yeah, this thread continues to go through where every business you do, every path you take, it's just very organic and natural to who you are.
And when I launched my brand, everybody was like, this makes sense. And that was the goal.
What do you say to those people who say you shouldn't be doing that? That who you are, your own likes, your own passions may not resonate with audiences out there. What would you say to people who are saying that instead of looking inside and then creating and giving that to the world, you should be studying outside to see what's working, what's popping, where the opportunities are, and then creating out of that? What would you say to people who think
that?
Any message for them?
I mean, you don't really tell me what to do.
And what you're doing is clearly working, right? It's worked.
I'm gonna do what I want to do.
Yeah, you've been doing it over and over and over again. Okay, I want to keep going down the sunglass line. The name of the company is?
Lorvae.
Love it.
Lorvae.
Lorvae. Yes, Lorvae. Yes. Yep, I love it. What where did the name come from?
It came from my middle name and my last name, which is Taylor. So Taylor, and my brand Lorvae, Lor, and my middle name Vache, Vaesha.
And why did you use your name to create the name of this brand? Was there any rationale behind it?
I think I wanted to create something that resonated with me, especially when my roots, my legacy, where I came from, my grandparents. So that's exactly why I wanted my name to have a meaning to it, which is why I included my last name. And
so the grandparents, meaning the same people who showed you love early in the beginning, that's the last name that you have. Yes. You wanted to bring them with you.
Yes.
Okay, I love that. I love that. What's been the hardest part of getting this sunglass brand off the ground?
The hardest part?
Yeah.
I think reinventing the wheel. I think that's probably a hard pill to swallow when it comes to that. And also just being a business owner and figuring out a way to run a business. It's new to me. Being a CEO is new. A lot of people, want a business, but when it's time to handle business, everybody want to run, everybody want to scram. Exactly. So I think that.
What was the moment where you knew the sunglass brand could be a thing out in culture, out in the world, generate fans? What was that moment? That
moment kicked in, obviously, when I, received brand deals from other brands. And then obviously they would come to me to pretty much sell their product and make their company boom. So at the moment that I knew that people would pay me to do that because I knew the worth I knew that my own brand would be a success. If I can sell other people's products, I can sell my own.
And there's a lot of people who are in that situation right now. There's hundreds of thousands of people who are still doing YouTube alone and just running other people's brands through it. Why did you want to create your own product? Why did you want to make that a thing? Why did you want to go beyond just YouTube?
Because it's something that I love, and I always believe in generational wealth. So I knew that I wanted to create something that will live forever.
Let's talk about brand deals. How do you think about brand deals when they come your way? How do you choose which ones you chase down and which ones you let go?
It gotta align with me. If it's something that I don't necessarily do on my day-to-day, or I wouldn't want people to, engage in because I don't do it, I'm not gonna do it, because if I wouldn't do it, I wouldn't, influence you to do it.
If you said anything else, I'd be shocked.
Would you?
Because everything about you is so natural. Everything is so
Baby, I've
core
turned
to
down,
who you are.
I've turned down lots of money because it's like, it don't align with me, and I'm not gonna, settle for something that I know does not align with me, who I am. And I know that me turning this down because it does not align with me will bring something even bigger.
You're not so short-sighted and focused on the immediate cash. You're focused on the long-term. Continue. I love that.
Yes.
There's the power of no is really important. I think as entrepreneurs, what a lot of people miss and don't understand is that so often how we build our brand is not just what we say yes to, it's what we say no to, right? Because when you say no to things, you're allowing, there are things that you may say yes to that expand your brand beyond what it was 100%, right? So you're just being focused and locked in, which allows your audience to know exactly who you are and exactly when to come to you, right?
Yes. And know that whatever I'm feeding them when it comes to a brand deal or promotion is not fake.
Believe me, I'm only doing this because I truly believe in it.
100%.
So they can there's value in your words, there's credibility in your words, they can take your word as bond. Okay, I love that. Okay, lots of influencers want brand deals. They're not getting them in the way that you are. What would you say is an important kind of note for other YouTube creators or social media creators or influencers out there? If you want brands coming to you, if you want to get these brand paychecks, here's what you need to be thinking about or doing. Is there anything special that you think they should be focused on?
I'm not going to even say no gimmick. Like, I don't think it's nothing out there special that you have to do to have a brand coming to you. I'll say like this. It's been 1,000,001 brands that I wanted to work with, but they haven't came to me. So it's like, you let people come to you, don't come to them.
I mean, that's the word, right? In and of itself, right? Be who you are, and you will attract. Do you believe in like manifestation at all?
I do.
Okay, so because you said you have a bunch of brands that you want to work with, right? So is there a vision board? Like, how does that work in your life? How does that work in your process?
It's not necessarily a vision board. It's in my mind. I'll be like, okay, I want to do this. I know I'm gonna do it. I think about it. I say it. I kind of picture myself in the position already, and I think that's how I manifest. Write it down.
Make it plain. I said, write it down, make it plain, and let it come to you. Keep being you, and if they align with your values, if they love what you do, they will find their way to you.
And I'm gonna give you an example because I literally wrote down a list of brands that I wanted to work with, and then I sent it out to my YouTube partner manager. And literally, I don't know, a few weeks after that, the brand came in my email, just randomly. She didn't even pitch it. It just came in my email. And I was like, see?
It works. Yeah. Black woman influencer. There's always these conversations around not just black women, but black people in social media, us not getting our fair due, us having to deal with certain biases in the market. So much of your career you've been winning. Have you had to deal with any biases in the marketplace because you're a black woman doing what you're doing?
I think underpay. I think going into a circumstance where it's like, okay, a brand want to work with you, but they not necessarily want to pay your rates when you know that they do. They have the money.
They got the money, right?
So it's like, I won't never settle. So if you can't pay me my rates, then on to the next. So let's say, I want to see how you do this strategically. Especially when you know the company is a big company and they have the, ability and the budget. It's like, why not? Yeah. Again, a consistent thing in your story
is about not devaluing yourself,
Yes.
right? Like I know
I'm
my
huge on that.
brand. I'm not going to take anything from brands that don't align with who I am. I know my brand and I know my worth. I'm not going to take any money that's less than what I think I'm worth.
Yes.
Okay, let's say the number one brand on your list that you want to work with came to you, but they were going to pay you 80% of what your rate is. Would you take it?
80%?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I would.
Meaning, let's say your rate is 100,000. If they offered you 80,000, would you take it?
Yes.
Okay. Why?
Because it aligns with who I am. So I'll say that.
So it's not just all about the money.
Yes.
It's a brand who aligns with my values, a brand
It's
that
what I
aligns with my
want.
dreams. And for them, like, I might be willing to. Now, don't take that for real. I want her getting all of her money.
Oh, yeah,
Y'all
yeah.
pay her 150% of her rate, whatever her rate
And
is.
they will.
Okay.
And they
Y'all
should.
2 times that thing. Talk to me about how you see your ecosystem, right? And the reason I want to see how you see your world and how you describe your world. And I'll use Revolt as an example as I ask you this question. I had a friend a long time ago. We were sitting on a panel. He heard me tell this story. I always say Revolt is not a media company. It's an engine for transformative change in the Black community, right? On first blush, what you see is a media company, and you see content and you see entertainment. But the conversations we're having are designed to help our people have the conversations we need to have, are designed to help our people find the Blackprint or the blueprint to success. We put $50 million back into the Black community every single year from the people we hire, right? Like, and so that to me is the real work. And so my friend said to me, sometimes you got to tell people that the company is a horse when it really is a zebra, because they won't understand the fact that it's a zebra. So very rarely do you hear me talk about Revolt the zebra. You always hear me talk about Revolt the horse, because that's what people know and can accept. When you see your company, when you think through it, YouTube, sunglass, like just talk to me about the lens with which you see your ecosystem. How would you describe the business and the world that you're building?
I describe it as a legacy. Like I said, I want to, I've seen what my grandparents done. I've seen what, the people in my life who I grew up with and, obviously looked up to. I've seen what they done. And I think the big part of it is legacy. And also, like I mentioned before, generational wealth, like being able to come into a world, give back opportunities to people, and also people that's close to me as well.
You've been winning for a long time, in this space. And people have seen your journey, right? And you've been through, like you said in the beginning, it's not that you haven't been through things, right? You've been through, what is something that people get wrong about your journey all of the time?
I think what they get wrong is that I'm a person who don't care. I'm very nonchalant, or I don't have feelings, or, I don't cry. I don't go through anything. So I think that will be...
They think you're a robot?
Yeah. Well, I don't necessarily think they think I'm a robot. I think it's because I'm not a person who come out here, I sit down and just talk about everything that broke me down behind closed doors. You just see the light. You just see me win, and you don't necessarily know what I had to go through behind closed doors to get to where I'm at. So I think a lot of people, since they don't see that, they don't know that. So they assume.
People don't often always see, and that's why we have the show.
That's why I like your slogan at the beginning. I love it.
Right? It's like people don't see that journey. People don't see that climb. And one of my beliefs is also that everything comes at a cost, right? And so while people may see you on the mountaintop, they don't understand the cost that it took to get there. What's the greatest cost you paid to be in the seat that you are in today? What is the greatest, like when I think about it, one day I remember waking up and I had chronic back pain. I wrestled with insomnia. I was tired, and probably tired because I had spent, a decade plus just grinding, trying to make things happen. And so then when I woke up, I had all of these things to deal with, right? So trying to erase the back pain and trying to fix my sleep. But again, all of those things that were costs for me to get here. What are some of the big costs that you have paid in order to be in the seat that you're in today?
I wouldn't necessarily say peace, because I have peace. I think what I would say is when I went into this industry, like I said, I'm a very confident girl. I know exactly what I want, and I'm gonna go get it. But I also didn't know that I had social anxiety. So going into this world, that showed me that. So I feel like my mental, in a way, which is why I do take mental breaks to kind of protect that. But I feel like when you get so lumped into it and just go, you can kind of lose yourself. Yeah,
I think we as a community have this thing where And again, I think it's generational, it's historical. You got to work twice as hard to be half as good. And hip hop and in so much what we do, we value the hustle and we value the work. But when I sit back and look, I'm like, rich people don't actually work that hard.
Yeah,
affluent people don't actually work that hard, right?
No, they be kicked up, baby.
And so some of it for me, I feel like it's almost like rooted in our history of being slaves. Like if I work and if I work and if I work and if I go, I'll make it happen, right? But that's not always the case.
Nope.
And so it sounds like you were working, and then something happened to kind of impact your mentality. What was that like the first time when you felt like, I don't know the words that you use, but like the social anxiety. When did that become a thing? Like, do you remember that moment when you first experienced it for the first time and what was happening?
I can't necessarily pinpoint on when. I think that when I go out in public and I meet a lot of people at once, that's kind of like when I realized my social anxiety. However, I think what I had to take a step back and look, it's like, okay, you are doing this. This is your, your calling. This is what you're supposed to do. However, you also have to still focus on yourself, focus on your mental, because I can't pour into other people's cup if my cup is empty. So I think realizing that it's okay to take breaks. It's okay to take a step back, because when you're watching your favorite TV show, that's not on 24/7. That's not on every day. So I think that's what I had to realize. Like, it's okay to take time for you and focus on yourself and focus on your mental.
Not only is it okay, I think it is a strategy of high performers.
Yes.
Like if you study people who are consistent high performers, take frequent sabbaticals. They'll say that you should take a sabbatical every quarter. Like every quarter you should take 4 to 7 days off and just kind of breathe and retreat. Again, I think that within our community, we don't accept that. We don't know that. We just think
it's okay. And in order to get to the top,
that's right.
You got to pace yourself.
That's right. I would say you can do anything, but you can't do everything. You got to take those moments in time just to breathe.
Which is why I believe in a team, which is why I believe in taking breaks, which is why I believe on, protecting your mental health. So, yeah.
What are some of the things you do to protect your mental health?
Like I mentioned before, I am a YouTuber. I do YouTube. So taking breaks, taking a step back from posting, taking a step back from just the media in general, that, that whole space. I think spending time with family, talking to like my everyday people.
What is a YouTube, when you take a break from YouTube, how long are you gone? You gone for a week? You gone for
months.
Days? Oh, you take months off. Okay. And are you...
But I went from posting like, I wouldn't say every day, but every other day, to now it's like, okay, I'm going to post this period of time and then I'm kind of go on a little break like the shows do, like seasons. So I think that's what it was. I was nervous at first. It was very scared because it was new. I'm like, okay, is people going to watch me when I come back? But I realized that people love it even more when you come back, when you take a break and you come back bigger and better. Oh,
I love that idea. I love that idea of creators thinking about themselves in terms of seasons, just like people do on TV, right? There's TV channels, unless you're talking about soap operas, but even they take break. But, you'll get 23 episodes, you'll get 24 episodes.
And they're probably filming that all at once.
That's
so
right.
They are taking a break while you're watching this.
That's right. Yep. That's right. I think that's a really, it's a new idea that I've heard, especially around people who are focused on YouTube and content creation.
But I've been doing it.
You've been doing it. And I imagine what the fear would be is that you disappear and when you come back, your audience is gone.
Yes.
But what you're saying is that's not been the case for you. Every time you come back bigger and stronger.
And they know that. They've seen it. So it's not like I'm all talk. Okay, I'm going to go ghost. I'm going to go missing. I ain't doing nothing behind closed doors, really. I'm going to just come back and it's going to be the same. No, it's always been bigger and better.
Oh, I love that. YouTube cheat codes. I want to see if you have any other cheat codes. Any cheat codes that you can give to young creators coming up in the game who want to be in your seat in terms of how to make their YouTube channel pop?
I would say long content.
What do you mean by long content?
When I say an hour.
And say more. Why does an hour?
An hour, because if somebody can watch you for an hour, they can watch you for forever. You see what I'm saying? Like if somebody can literally sit down and watch a video of you doing whatever for an hour, then you have their engagement.
Yeah, that's a difference maker because
now we're in a world where it's like short form. Like people want to see something quick. But if you can take somebody's attention for an hour long, like you really killing it.
100%. And it's actually the game that we play here, right? Because also when you put up an hour worth of content, you get to run a lot more ads than you get to run when you put up 2 minutes of content, right? And I'm thinking about how many content creators are out there doing it in 60-second bites, 2-minute bites only, and how differentiating it probably is for people.
Because it's easy to catch somebody's attention in only 60 seconds or 30 seconds versus 30 minutes to an hour.
Do you look at video completion rates? Do you set goals in terms of, you know, if you're doing an hour worth of content, how long you want people, the average person watching content, or no, your thing is, let me just put this hour up, and as long as I feel like I'm holding them, they're engaging, they're showing up in the comments, I'm doing my thing. Okay.
That's the goal.
If you had to start today with no followers, 0 followers.
No camera, no laptop either?
No, you can have, I'll get you the camera and the laptop. 0 followers, what would you do? You jumping back in the content creation game, you focusing on the sun, like where do you go? If you had 0 followers today, what would you do?
Do the same thing? I'll say I'll do the same thing. I'll do it back. I'll do it again.
Because you believe in it? Because it's purpose? Because why?
Because I believe in it and I believe it is purpose. Like I said, I had to sit and realize like, okay, your life is not going in this direction. It's you being pushed, you know what I'm saying, to do one thing because it's your calling.
It is impressive what you've done. It's amazing what you've done. And it would be amazing for anybody, but I think it's especially amazing that you've done it as a Black woman. I see you as a role model. Do you see yourself as a role model as a Black woman?
I do.
You do?
Yes.
Does that come with any weight or any responsibility? Do you, how do you process this idea that you are now a role model?
I process it in a way where I look at social media, I look at this world that I'm in as work, because it's my job. So it's like you go to work, you show up, you do what you're supposed to do, and you go home. I think that the responsibility that I have in this world, I take very serious, because I think that it's important to give women, not only women, Black women, people who can see themselves in me, the idea that, okay, I don't have to necessarily go this route of what I see on social media all the time. Like, I can do something different. So I think that what I put out there is very important. How I present myself is very important. And like I said, you show up to work and you go home.
Yeah, I think it's important. One of my favorite quotes is, representation is the lens through which we dream, right? And if more and more people can see more and more of you, right, then you get to inspire them, and they get to dream and think about how they go to you know, cutting up YouTube and making $12,000 checks or whatever you're doing now, right? Which is incredible. Okay, I wanted to ask this question around the soft life. The soft life is like a big conversation that you kind of hear in the culture. I wanted to get your own point of view. Like, is the soft life something you aspire to? Is it something that you have? But most importantly, what I want to understand is, if it is, how do you balance work and hustle and career with also this desire around having the soft life?
I would say I do have a soft life. And I think that it came about, it's like I said, focusing on me, realizing that it's okay to take time for yourself, always protecting your peace, your mental health, and realizing that you don't have to always show up if you're not 100%. And I think that when you overwork yourself, that's not living a soft life. Like you said, these people kicking back, millionaires, they not really working. So I think that you can still show up to work, still be a boss, but still also live a soft life.
I hope more and more of us take that lesson home, honestly, because I really do feel like we are working ourselves to the bone. And even if again, I just think about like this moment that we're in, how much is changing around us with, you know, the folks that are currently in the presidential office. And again, I want to say, like, that's not work. They're shifting our whole world through policy. And so we have to learn to play smarter, not always harder.
Same thing where they say, you know, work smarter, not harder.
That's exactly right. That's exactly right.
I believe in that.
You believe in that?
I do.
All right, I want to know, as we get ready to close this interview out, what I want to know is, for your fans, they know so much about you, but one of the things you've done really well is everything is not out in the world. Is there anything that's coming up next that your fans should be looking forward to that they don't know about yet?
Should they know now? When it's coming out?
I don't know.
I like to pop out with things. So I don't think it's really nothing. I mean, if you're watching this right now, I did, in the process of right now launching a new campaign of sunglasses. However, it's a lot of things that's coming up, but it's like, stay tuned.
Okay. Tell me about this new campaign you just launched.
So the new campaign that just launched is called Breaking News. And so it is a sunglasses, real small. It's kind of like where I started in the beginning of my fashion career and my just lifestyle of being an influencer. I call them the SIGs, like signature glasses, because they was like really skinny, really small, and they can like come off your eyes like this. So I wanted to kind of do a full circle. And a lot of people was like, oh, snap, this is kind of like what you was wearing when you first started YouTube. So, and the kind of idea behind the collection was just like breaking news. A lot of people always want to hear from me. A lot of people always, it's a lot of talk, it's a lot of chatter. So, break news with its brand.
I see it.
Shop, cop a pair, 234.
Purpose-driven, mission-driven, feel like you're on assignment, doing your thing. You talked about building generational wealth. When it's all said and done, what is it that you really want your legacy to be?
I want people to see me and remember me. I want my legacy to be that, like, okay, she was a go-getter, but she also was a person who didn't fall into the trap of just the norm and doing things the regular way, and also doing whatever I wanted to do. Like, you can't make me do anything. I'm gonna do whatever I wanted to do, and whatever I put my mind to, I'm gonna go get it.
It's also this beautiful thing, on your own terms. This whole convo, so many of the things you're doing them on your own terms. Yes. If you could sit down with young you, let's call it 10-year-old, 15-year-old Dearra, what advice would you give her?
What advice?
What did she not know then that you think she could benefit from knowing now?
I would say, like, it's okay to not be okay. You live a world where you have to feel like, you don't necessarily have to put on a mask, but you have to be strong. But it's okay to not be okay. So I think that's what I would tell younger me.
And my last question, we always close out every interview just because maybe I didn't get it all, maybe there's something else hidden in there, but any final words that you want, or final words of wisdom, any final gems that you want to give to the audience for the people who showed up to watch you today? Any final words for them?
I would say, if you don't value their life, don't value their opinion. Period.
Well, that's a mic drop. It's such a mic drop because so many people are frustrated, dealing with anxiety, depression, probably from people they don't even know.
They don't even know what they're going through behind closed doors, because people can push you one way and could be going through the same exact thing. You see what I'm saying? So, like, if you don't value their life, don't value their opinion. Don't
value their opinion. I love that. Thank you for that one. Thank you for teaching me. Ladies and gentlemen, the wonderful, spectacular Miss Dearra Taylor. We've learned so much from her today. I think we've learned just about the power of doing life on your own terms. We've learned about the power of doing things that are authentic to you, true to you, that are in alignment with what your values are. So much of the conversation was not just about the hustle and all that she's doing to work to be the wonderful woman that you see in front of us, but it's also just recognizing that it's okay to not be okay. That sometimes you gotta take those pauses. Sometimes you gotta take those breaks. And if you do that, it allows you to come back even harder, even stronger. I'm so proud of you. What you've done, what you've accomplished is amazing. Watching you reinvent yourself and your brand has been amazing. And I'm just
not many people can.
Not many people. No, they can't. It's real tough. Like it's a
people
very.
People feel stuck. People feel like they can't move on. I can.
Thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your wisdom. Honored to have you.
Thank you.
What an incredible conversation with Dearra Taylor. She brought all of the energy and all of the excitement and all of the confidence into the room. When I think about our conversation, there are three things that stand out to me. One, everything that she creates is so authentic to who she is. There's never a moment where she talks about looking out into the world for inspiration. Everything comes from her own personal passions, her own personal loves. Everything is authentic to who she is as a human. It reminds me of this quote, to thine own self, be true. And she is always true to herself. And then from there, she's navigating life on her own terms. She's not taking brand deals that don't connect. She's not launching businesses that don't connect. Everything starts from inside. And then she uses that as her filter for how she navigates the world and thinks about what businesses to launch and what to do next. Two, the second thing that she said that I think is really, really smart, especially for creators who are getting their start, is she said one of the first things she did when she started making money was actually to build a team. I think it's easy to start making money and want to keep 100% of the revenue for yourself. But this idea that if you want to actually grow faster, if you want to make sure that your money is protected, then you don't just need the creativity and the output that you're doing, but you need that lawyer, you need that accountant, you need someone watching the money, you need someone negotiating your deals and making sure that they're the best deals that you can get to. And so this idea that very early on in our careers as creators, we should be thinking about who's the team that we need around us to support us so that we can actually get to the place that we want to be. And three, I think a big thing that comes out of what she talks about is just like the power of purpose. From the very beginning, she's never wavered, right? Like she's like, this is my assignment. This is what I'm supposed to be doing. And so while she meets struggles and ends up going through obstacles like we all do, her confidence around, she's always unshakable. And again, I think that's just rooted in the confidence in her purpose and the confidence in her assignment. And the last thing that I'm just gonna close out with, because I just thought it was an incredible way that she closed out the interview and the conversation with her quote, "If you don't value their life, don't value their opinion." In this day and age of social media, everyone has a microphone, the noise is loud, people are loud, everything is loud. This idea that we should never be distracted by people who are not in our circle, by people who are not contributing to who we want to be. Why are we letting strangers dictate or impact our life? I love that, and so I want to make sure that we don't forget that gem that she dropped at the end. Dearra Taylor, dropped wisdom, dropped bars. Excited to have her here. Looking forward to the next version of the Blackprint.